All right, guys, welcome back. So we are at the stage where I did get through most of everything with the staining, and if you watched any of the updates I posted into posts, you'll see whereabouts we are with that. I am going to start doing Tru-Oil today, but I just did want to, I'll bring you down and I want to catch you up a little bit on some of the happy accidents that I found as I was going through this. It's not going quite to plan, but I think it's looking pretty good. So what we have the back of the body here with the gray stain on it. And I don't know if you can tell, uh, it's got a couple coats on it. And when I did let this dry, the gray stain for some reason did kind of rough up quite a bit. So I did gently sand it. And as I'm going along, and you can see on the horn there, some of it's kind of rubbed through. And I'm actually kind of digging that the gray stain looks a little bit more aged than the orange does. And you can see it on the neck as well. I didn't want to lay it on too thick because I like being able to see the grain. So I do kind of like that this looks a little bit distressed, which I won't say relic because I'm no expert on that and probably wouldn't be very good at it. Also, on the sides, if you're looking at that, you can kind of see that little yellowish there where the gray and the orange meet. Did this weird little thing, and I actually kind of like that because, like I said, what I was going for was a burning coal, and you get the different colors of flames. I'm actually perfectly okay with this. I think it's going to be good for a first effort, and then the top of the body. I think once I figured out what was going on with the stain, if you go back and look at my posts, you can see where it looked a little rough. Two things happened. One, I had too much water in the mix with the stain. I followed the instructions on the packet, but I don't think it was quite correct. If I go back and look at that video, there's scenes where I can see just a pile of the powder at the bottom of the bowl, so it wasn't mixing up properly. So number one, uh, I came back with a paper towel and wiped off what looked like where it didn't soak in. Actually, it had deposited, uh, I guess I want to say stain dust on the wood. So when I did wipe it off, it did smooth it out and make it a lot more solid. So once I got it down to that, where it was easily done, and this is reminding me, I'm giving myself Cheeto fingers. I need to get some gloves on. So I'd mixed up another batch of orange stain. This time I put the powder in and added water a little bit at a time till I could get it to the right consistency and where I could see it was all mixed up. And then I applied two more coats with that combination, and that's where we are today. The the black grain fill isn't popping quite as much as I'd hoped it would. We'll see what happens with the Tru-Oil. So give me 1 minute, I'll get some gloves on, and we'll start putting Tru-Oil. I'm going to start with the back of the body because when I talked to Ted, as you can see, I'm having to manually flip it here. I don't have any what kind of what Ted referred to as like the rotisserie. I know Sparky has a device that he made himself, and I'm trying to reverse engineer that and see if there's something I could mount on the side so that I could put a guitar body and spin it so I could do the sides, top, bottom, all at once without having to take time in between. So what we're going to do is apply Tru-Oil to the body. I'm going to apply it to the neck too. Let's see if you guys can, yeah, you guys can see it over there a little bit. Let me dial that back in because I'll do some of the neck. I'm really trying to maximize what I've got for space here so that I can leave things out. When I put a coat of Tru-Oil on, I'm going to get the bottom of the body and as much of the sides as I can get and do that however many coats I think I need. So talk to Ted and a couple others. I've got an idea of how long to wait between coats and then how long to wait before I can safely flip this over onto my stands here. I bought a whole bunch of these little paint stands so I could elevate something and not have it resting directly on a surface. And they've got little raised spots and air holes, so I don't think this is going to leave any marks. We shall see. That's what wet sanding will be for if anything does happen. So let me get some gloves on and let's get the Tru-Oil out. All right, guys, I think you can see the foil on the Tru-Oil too. I think it was Sparky that I watched and said that sometimes Tru-Oil can go bad if you let it sit for too long. So I didn't open this till I was going to use it, and I'm going to try and put the foil back in to protect it as much as I can. So let's see what Tru-Oil does with a gray water-based stain, huh? So far, so good. Nothing smearing too much. This is going to need quite a bit. I will probably be getting this towel wet over and over again. Whoop. A little too much. That's fine. We'll spread it around. And I'll wipe some of this excess off if I have to. If it doesn't spread out, that was a whoops. Because I do want... Oh, that's got an odor to it. Good thing that we've got the fans going. And I'm only going to do one coat at a time so it doesn't get too overpowering out here. So I'm hoping that this is going to help accentuate the grain, make things look a little shinier, which from everything I've seen from you guys is what it should be doing, and hopefully really make the color pop when I get to the other side. So what I'm going to do is put one coat of this on, and I'm going to put a coat on the neck as well, and then we're going to let this dry between coats. I'm probably not going to bring you back for every coat on the back. I'm just going to wait and keep going. I will hit record if anything interesting happens that would require us to pop back in. But until then, I think I will be doing this off and on throughout the next day or so. And after the final coat is on, I'm going to let it dry for at least 24 hours or settle for 24 hours. I know that's not totally cured. I know it can take longer than that, but I'm hoping that it will be settled enough that I will be able to flip this over onto those stands with no issues. But I want to get enough coats on that if there is anything rough, I can hopefully just wet sand a little bit with maybe some more Tru-Oil. Oh, I did get stuff all over on the side of the bottle. And that's why I've got the paper and the towels down. As I was saying, hopefully get enough coats on that I can wet sand a little bit to take away any roughness and imperfections as they come along, without taking away the stain. So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. Right now, again, everything looks better wet, so we're going to see how it goes when it dries. But I think if I can get to the point where we're going to have a nice shine to it like that, and you can see the ring light reflecting off of it, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with that. And if it does the same to the top, I'm going to be extremely happy. I'm hoping by this time next week, I know this is going to be Tuesday right now, because I'm going to be doing this over the course of the week and then putting the video out on Sunday. So Sunday the 5th, I'm hoping Sunday the 12th, I will be able to come back in and we will be talking about putting this guy back together. And I will probably hit up a couple of folks with base expertise on the setup once I get everything put together, pickup height, etc. I did buy myself a straight edge for a full-scale base, so I will be able to check the flatness of the neck. That'll probably be its own video doing the neck work because there's going to need to be a little fret work, and I think it's going to be easier to do with the neck off. Let's take another towel, put that over my mouse so I don't get stuff on my mouse. You guys can't see that it's off camera. I'm going to switch to the side camera. I'm going to get a little more Tru-Oil, carefully this time. And I'm going to start with the headstock because then I'm going to turn the neck around and do the rest of the neck while it's laying down. But this way I can get the bottom and the top of the headstock all at once. And we'll see how this goes. I know this is not the most excellent view for you guys to see what I'm doing, but I figured we'd talk a little bit. This being Tuesday, I'll put a timestamp for some of the folks that are on the Discord with me. This was the day we woke up to find our rabbit Butter giving us a scare. Didn't really want to turn this into a rabbit education video, but rabbits can get a condition called stasis, which basically means their gut stops moving. And if not caught in time, it can and will kill them, usually within a period of 2 days or less. So he needed to go to the vet. However, in typical pet fashion, we will avoid too bad a language other than to say that our rabbit is kind of an a-hole. He got to the vet. He looked very lethargic in the morning, which means he wasn't moving. This is a rabbit that does not like to be picked up. He let me scoop him up and cuddle him right away, which was odd. So we went to the vet. The vets checked him in, gave him fluids, gave him a checkup, And pretty much by the time the checkup was done, they put him in their like little kennel incubator area for small animals. And he perked right up, started eating and was doing just fine. So I will say he's a jerk for the way he presented this to us, but knowing what we know about rabbits from past rabbits, I have a feeling if we hadn't taken him in, I would not be making this video right now because it would have been a much sadder tale. That being said, rabbits are jerks. So he's feeling much better now. He's been running around. We think some combination of either a hairball or a gas bubble led to him not feeling so well. So he's got some medications that should help make his tummy feel better so he can keep eating. They just have to keep eating constantly for the most part to keep their stomach moving. So, except when they're sleeping. So that's where we are. That's just an update for anybody that's not on the Discord with me. Everybody that is on the Discord, I'll be typing that in a little bit later because we're going to be joining. It is Tuesday. We're going to be joining Ubi and Ted Talks Guitars and Life on their lives, and we will have a good time tonight after I'm letting a couple of coats of Tru-Oil dry up very nicely here. All right, so I am doing the bottom of the headstock. If anything on the top where it goes into the neck pocket feels a little tacky, I can just I'll set it in the neck pocket and tape off where it's not showing, and I'll probably just take some high grit sandpaper and take a little bit of the shine off if that's causing any problems, but I don't think it will. It's not paint. So, all right, I am going to go up and down the neck on both sides here. We're going to get a nice even coat on it. I don't want anything too thick because I don't want drips to make weird marks in it. I'm going to stand up over here to get to the other side, so pardon the view of my torso. Make do with what kind of room you've got. So that's what we're doing. I do like the way this is bringing the gray to life, so that's giving me pretty high hopes that when I get this, I'm going to have to move that towel back, that when I get this done, I think the orange, I think, is just going to really, really pop with the Tru-Oil on it. And I think I'm going to be a very happy owner of a CDN custom bass guitar. I don't know if that name's going to stick or not. I'm still on the fence about whether I want to create some kind of water slide to put on the headstock. That can always be done after because we'll figure out a way to, if I have to sand a spot and put it on and recoat with Tru-Oil. I don't know if water slides would take Tru-Oil very well. Anybody out there, let me know. So, all right. I think I've covered everything with what went wrong with the stain, the little happy accidents, and how some of this looks. It's slightly different than what I envisioned in my head, but it's got a cool look all its own, I think. And I'm just excited that if we can get this looking pretty, I will have a nice bass to maybe start making some more music with if I find some time. I think things are going to turn a corner stress-wise. Rabbit notwithstanding. Let's just take you back into the overhead one more time. Hi, Butter. You're begging. Seriously, you're begging. It's like having teenagers again, guys. All right. I'm just going to rub a little bit just more on the body here, and then I'll switch to the overhead. Or, well, no, I'm not going to switch to the overhead because I'm going to bring you guys back in. This isn't the end of the video. It's just the end of this part. So I'm going to get a little bit more on here because I did think that this gray stain seems to be a little more porous in my mind. Let's get that string off of there. Yeah, it's doing some interesting stuff with the looks on the back. And like I said, again, I'm pretty happy with it. I will have to reach out or ask some people, anybody in the comments knows, do I want to wet sand with this stuff after a few coats? Or do I wait till I have all the coats I want on and then just sand with a very, very fine grit paper, like with no pressure, just to try and take any imperfections, or if there is like not like orange peel because it's not paint, but you know what I mean, any kind of texture that might be on it that I would like to smooth out. Would sanding hurt that depending on how many coats I have on? I'm hoping to get somewhere between 8 to 10 coats on here, the neck and the back, before we flip it over, and then I plan to do the same to the front. Should I be looking at more coats? Is it something that you just do by feel and look, personal preference? You guys let me know, and I'll probably have reached out to some of you before then, because by the time you guys see this video, the Tru-Oiling will be done, but I suppose I could always flip back into that for the next video as well. All right, I'm going to cut it here. Unless something interesting happens in the process of putting more coats on the neck and body, I will see you when we are ready to flip to the top of the body. It'll be just a few seconds for you and several hours for me. All right, guys, welcome back. We are pretty much done with the back and the neck of the guitar. I don't know how much you can see in the light, but I did want to thank several people in the comments of the last video that have reached out and on the post to give me advice, as well as the folks that I reached out to on my own, including Ted and Sparky, who recommended a number of things between coats, to sand between a certain number of coats and then finally do a wet sand on the final coat, which is what I did on the body and on the neck. I'm very happy with how the neck turned out. Like I said, I wanted it to look a little more weathered than the bright color that'll be on the top, and I think this turned out really well. So I'm going to put the neck away, let it cure for a little bit more before I peel the tape off, and before we get to the assembly, doing work on the neck is going to be probably one of my next videos after all the Tru-Oil is done. There is some sharp frets, and I have a fret file arriving this weekend, so that should work out very well, and we'll see how this comes along before we assemble. So I'm going to tuck that away and get it out of our way, and I'm going to make a little room over here so I have a little more room to maneuver, and I'm going to get my gloves on before I turn the guitar over and show you where we are with the top. So there was a little Tru-Oil that did goop around the edges, so I've got a little area which I'm probably just going to lightly sand. I'm not so worried about the color just so much as it's kind of thick, so I don't want a big blotch where there's texture. And then I'll wipe that off and we'll start doing the Tru-Oil on the top. So I only did 10 coats on the back. I talked to several people, including Brant over at Tonjaeger as well, that said they did anywhere between 20 to 30 coats with sanding in between on what they did. I'm probably going to try and come close to that on the top, but I'm happy with how this turned out on the back. Everything feels smooth. It's nice and shiny. We've got a little bit of spots on the edges where you can see there's some imperfections, some of it shining through, which I'm still fine with because that's kind of what I wanted for the edges. Like I said, to look a little more rustic, but we'll probably do just a little bit of wax at the end just to try and make everything shiny. Here you can see the spot where things got a little bit goobered onto the top, so I'm going to just gently sand that quick just to try and get it where I can't feel the ridge, because I don't want to take any of the color off. So we're just very, very lightly, I mean, like just the weight of the sponge doing this so that I can get the edge off of, yep, it's almost there. Get the edge off of that spot, and then we'll start applying Tru-Oil to see if we can get this to match. From what I can see, I think I'm going to like how this top is going to look with the Tru-Oil. So what I'm going to do is get the first coat of Tru-Oil on with you guys, and then I will bring you back in if anything interesting happens in the 20 or so coats that happen before we want to do the final coat, which will be wet sanding with Tru-Oil, and I'll bring you guys in for that. So yeah, I think we're okay. We're going to see what that looks like when we're done. It's going to take this dry cloth, wipe it off a little bit so I don't get any dust mixed in with the Tru-Oil. This Tru-Oil rag is done because after it's sat, it is now petrified. That'll be going in the garbage. We'll fold this one up and make it the new Tru-Oil. This bag of rags from Menards, just a bunch of old torn up sweatshirts, is perfect because I could tear it up or cut them up and then fold them up. They work perfectly for this. So this stuff does get sticky. I'll have to clean that bottle off before I put it back on the shelf when we're completely done here. That's if there's anything left of this bottle when we're completely done here. All right. All right, we're going to start near that where that spot is, and we'll just kind of work our way around. Of course, everything looks better when it's wet. We'll see if I can get the shade to eventually match where that dripped. Oh, I think this is going to look nice. I don't know how well that's coming through on the camera, but I'm pretty excited about that. And I'm hoping that this will seal that in nice. Yeah, I like that it's darkening it up too, so we aren't, of course, it is wet. We'll see what happens between the first couple coats. I'll probably take a picture in between coats and try and get that to go. Yeah, we're going to end up with some imperfections here, but like I said, I'm okay with that. I have learned quite a bit in this process that will help me for the next one when I will probably try and prep better, be a little more careful. I did follow a lot of advice and I think I was being careful, but like I said, this is my first time doing it, so mistakes were going to happen and that's fine. But if this top comes out looking even remotely close to this, I think I'm going to be pretty happy. Today is Thursday. This is my Friday because I have the 3rd off. Thank goodness, because it has just been a stressful month. So I'm going to enjoy a day where I don't have to do anything except every once in a while apply another coat of Tru-Oil to a bass guitar. Let's get that out of the way. Wishes were fishes. I would have an area with a little more room to work, but we make do. But boy, yeah, I'm really happy now with the Tru-Oil. I hope as it dries and shines up and sanding in between that we'll continue to see that grain filler like we're seeing when it's wet here. I think this is going to look really, really nice. But Thursday night, few different hangouts online. I'll probably be chatting with a few people in between coats of Tru-Oil on my bass. My friend 2 Yards has a premiere at 7 p.m. You're going to be seeing this after that, but I encourage you to check out his channel. I'll link it in the description of the video along with most everybody else that I shout out during the video. But 2 Yards is just a fantastic musician. Just a completely eclectic set of music that he puts out. He is impossible to pin down to any one genre, and from chatting with him, that's the way he likes it. He just makes all original music, several different genres, just so talented. And I encourage you all just to go listen to a couple of his songs, see what you like, and if you find something you like, let him know about it. Leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, drop a like. I can't believe that he doesn't have more subscribers than he already has, but honestly, it's just all about the music to him, so he's not upset about that. I think those of us that enjoy his music are more upset about that than he is. So, all right, I am going to try and smooth this out to make sure I don't have any really thick spots, and we'll let this coat dry, and I'll come back in for a few more. I really hope this continues to stay this way, because I am liking how that orange is coming out. It's really looking more burnt orange, reddish orange, which is great, because I was not hoping for my bass guitar to be a creamsicle. But you know what? If it ended up that way, or if it does end up that way, I'm fine too. This, like I said, this has all been learning experiences. Hold that down so I can just apply a little more pressure to that dark spot. Hopefully, as we apply more coats, maybe I'll avoid that spot to try and dark it up around that. If anybody has any thoughts on what I could have done differently there, let me know. Because like I said, we'll use this for the next one. Or maybe at some point this gets refinished, or I just sand down that spot and try and match it up. But I am very, very happy with how this is turning out so far. And I'm also very happy with the amount of time I waited to rest the top on those stands, because it did not leave any marks on the body. So I will take every minor victory that I can out of this. All right, this is going to look fantastic. I'm going to close up my bottle of Tru-Oil. We'll probably get a different rag over there because I seem to have picked up still a little bit of orange stuff. I think that wishes being, or hindsight being 2020, I would probably go with a different stain than that 9 zone. It is also entirely possible that it was complete human error with mixing up the powder, but the stuff that was pre-mixed in the bottle, I had no issues with it spreading. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, I will bring you back in when we're getting close to that final coat to wet sand with. Otherwise, if anything interesting happens, I'll bring you back in for that. All right, guys, we're back. And I guess it's appropriate that today is July 4th because look at the fireworks, folks. This is 25 to 30 coats of Tru-Oil in, and I did kind of lose count, so sorry that I don't know exactly what it is, but it is between 25 and 30 coats. And thanks again to Sparky. Every few coats of Tru-Oil, I was sanding gently with 1,000 grit sandpaper just to take any little imperfections out. I was going to bring you guys back in to do a final coat with wet sanding with Tru-Oil, but it's honestly not necessary. This is as smooth as glass, exactly the way I want it. Now, is this as orange as I thought it was going to be? Not quite the flame that I was looking for, but I'm going to be honest. I am not at all disappointed in this. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. I'll show you the back and the sides a little bit, and then we'll talk about the neck real quick. So the sides, as I showed you, you can see we've got coats of Tru-Oil there as well. How it did that nice little transition from the fire to the coal. Just you got that little yellow in there. That's just a happy accident. And it did turn out all the way around the back. The back turned out nice. We've got a nice coat on there. Not quite as smooth because I didn't do the grain filler on the back, but to be honest, I don't care. I kind of like the little bit weathered look with it. And Butter was kind enough to keep his hair out of the mix for me while I was doing this. So the only thing that we really have left to do with the finish is I'm going to let this set up and cure for a good long time, probably too long. I read varying accounts on there. Some said a few days, some said a week. I've got some stuff coming that I'm going to apply a coat of carnauba wax and then buff it out. I've got buffing wheels coming from my drill so that we can get a really, really nice shine on this and also on the back and the neck. So that's going to be probably the next video along with the work on the neck. The edges of the frets are not so sharp anymore, and there's a reason for that. I will post a picture up here as we're talking. I did ask a couple friends what to do. You can still kind of see it. My taping job may not have been the best, but there was several spots of gray stain along the sides of the fretboard. Now, I did mostly remedy that, but as you can see here, I did end up taking a little bit of the stain down to the wood there. Lesson learned. I'm actually fine with this because I did want the back and the neck to look more rustic. So between Tru-Oil and the coat of wax that's going to go on there, it's going to be protected, and that's going to be the way I want it to look. And I think that looks really nice with the color of the body. So the only other things that we then have to do are, like I said, the wax. I am going to I've got a fret file coming in the next couple days along with all the stuff I need to do for the waxing. Is we're gonna check out the neck. We're gonna get it leveled. Not I hoping not to level it. What I mean by level, we're gonna get it straight so that we can check how the frets are, uh, level if necessary. The main thing I want to do is take the fret file to the ends here because the corners are still a little sharp. So I just want to take the edge off of those, especially the ones on the bottom. So as I'm playing, I'm not feeling it. It's not bad. It's really not bad. The sanding and scraping that I did a little scraping with a razor blade and then sanding a little bit along the edges also caught the ends of the frets, which really kind of helped smooth things out. So I'll call that a win. And once we get everything waxed up, I'm going to take the tape out. So next week is going to be neckwork polishing, and then probably the week after is going to be putting it back together and getting a setup done on it and getting some sounds, and we'll have ourselves a bass. I suspect, based on when I set it up, that I'm going to have to do a little work on that nut because these smaller strings kind of grabbed a little bit. So I don't think I need to change the depth. We'll see when we do a setup. But I am going to have to widen a couple of these slots just a little bit because it was pinching really, really badly to the point where I couldn't move the string in and out of it. So that would cause problems down the road. We're probably going to have to drill out the holes in the body just a little bit because when I did put it together last time, the screws were grabbing at it, and then we just want them to grab in the neck, and I've got screw wax as well. So we'll make sure that all the screws go back in with no problems. I almost hate to cover this back up with the pick guard, but that's where the controls and everything are. So we'll get it set. This is going to look pretty good, I think. When we are done with everything, I will do kind of a post-mortem of everything that I've learned here. So let me get back to let's get back to the phone camera here so you guys I can just give a few couple final thoughts. I am extremely happy with this. I was worried the whole time I had this, the whole time I was collecting everything for what I needed to do, that would I do it right? Would I screw it up incredibly? And again, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect at all, but I am very happy with this for a first attempt. And if anything that I've done here helps somebody else on their first attempt to avoid some of the pitfalls, that's going to be a win. So when we put it together, I'll do a post-mortem and go over every area where I probably could have done things differently, places where I could have been a little more careful, and how I could have prepped better to account for things like I sanded through the edges a couple times when I was doing the staining. And yeah, that really is, you hear it from a lot of people. All of you guys, several channels that I follow had mentioned, you know, you got to be careful on the edges. Sparky, Ted, everybody hearing it and doing it is one thing entirely. It did not take much at all. I thought I was being super careful, but like I said, we'll go over all that. But until next time, I will probably be back with some other little content in between the neck work and that. We got a few things happening, but this will be we're coming up to the close on this. So until next time, guys.